All right, let's try this one more time. Had a little technical difficulties. Had some technical difficulties, but we are back again. We're gonna go ahead and start this thing over. Guys, you ready?
Let's go.
Yep.
Hit it. Welcome to Fresh Tech Tips. I am Darrell Norris, CEO of Fresh Tech Solutions. I have a couple of my business partners with me today.
Yeah, hello guys. I'm Nicholas and Daniel, founder of Aegis Project Management.
And I'm Dr. Doug Franklin, co-founder and CEO of Deck Launch LLC.
And today, your Fresh Tech Tip topic is how high is your business? The keys to elevating and scaling. So we all want our businesses to elevate to their maximum potential, but what does that actually look like? How high can you take your business depends on how big you're thinking. One of the most common problems we see with our Deck Launch clients is that they're not thinking big enough. So let's talk about scaling and how you can set yourself up for success and continued growth. Let's say, for example, Fresh Tech Solutions goes viral tonight. And I wake up in the morning and 10,000 people want new apps. Will we be able to handle that? What are some of the things that we think about? Answering the calls. Will we have the manpower to answer all these phone calls and reply to all of these emails? And will we have the time to set up these meetings? And will we have to lessen the length of our meetings? Do we have the manpower to even develop these apps, to code these things? And we have Nick here. Do we have the manpower to manage all of these projects? So project management is another thing that we think about in these scaling things. So I just really wanted to talk about three keys to scaling your business. I want to discuss strategy, processes and procedures, and investments. Nick, what do you think about this whole scaling thing?
Yeah, let me hit y'all with a simple definition first. As we all know, scale refers to size. And for business, scaling in business means setting the stage to enable you to support the growth of your company. It means having the ability to grow without being hampered. So that being said, the first thing that we want to talk about strategy-wise, which is always important in anything, is setting our destination. So what are we scaling to? What are we growing to? And without that knowledge, then you're just running around in circles. So that's the first thing to pinpoint. Is that local? Is that just size, or is that changing processes, amount of people? What is it that is scaling to you?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we always talk about with our Deck Launch clients. And so we have people always come in with an idea for a product, but they don't necessarily think about how big their product could be. And so when you're seeking investors always want to know, well, how potentially big is this piece of the pie? And so what a lot of times what we say is you got to think bigger, even if you don't see yourself going beyond regionally. How big is your region? How much does that mean? If you see yourself as a national brand or a global brand or a brand that gets big enough to be bought out by a global brand, there's a lot of things that go into it. And there's going to be a lot of processes and people that you're going to have to partner with, touch, or hire that help you build your projects or your products from a project to an empire.
Yeah, so that end goal is...
Bro, before you go on that, because you just said something there about the regional thing, and it's something that's hit me right in the head. There's a reason why HEB is really not stressing about leaving Texas. Like, there's a reason, because they know that they can scale within here. So identifying that ahead of time, when it's just an idea, starting with your scale and your end goal in mind also is important. Sorry, Dora.
No, you're good, because I was just talking about that end goal and how we needed to realize that, everybody's end goal isn't going to be global, and that's perfectly fine. It's okay to be, to have statewide or nationwide scaling goals, or even smaller than that. Just identify that goal and have a plan. So let's get into this marketing strategy because you can't really scale anything without without a marketing strategy to do so.
So there's two things that come to mind when we talk about scaling for marketing. So we just talked about, kind of what's your scope, right? So are you going to be regional? Are you going to be national, global? Regardless of whatever size you're going to go to, you obviously have to know who your target market is. As one of our friends and mentors, Mark Davenport, says, who's your avatar? You need to know who that group is because it costs a certain amount of money to get to those people. So what does that call? Customer acquisition cost, which is the second thing that you really have to think about when scaling, because because there's certain pieces of marketing that we use that could be effective but could be costly, and so you have to figure out what those things mean to you. So, for example, one of the greatest places to work on, to market with right now would be social media marketing with Facebook and Instagram. But what happens if you don't know your target market? The Facebook marketing is really focused in you knowing exactly who your group is, and you could just be throwing money into the ocean. And so at some point where it's you considering somewhere close to $1 a person, if you don't know who your target is, it could be $5 a person. A similar thing would be influencer marketing, where people are asking you for a whole bunch of bread and some freebies for you to show your product to a greater community. Do you know if that's going to get you enough people to justify your costs? Not necessarily. So you have to make sure that you know who you're working with, and then where you're going, so that you can figure out what's the best way to scale when you build your marketing plan out.
No, yeah, I love it. And staying on the subject of strategy still, Nick, I want to get into leadership. Let's talk about how important leadership is in the scaling strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember what Doug always said. Is it people, place, time? Or there's something that Doug always says when he's talking about the most important keys. But your strategy is not going to just come from thin air. It's going to come from the minds of brilliant people that you've aligned around yourself. I definitely don't expect it to come only from you, because you don't have an all-encompassing knowledge. You have a threshold that you're limited at. So the first thing that you need to put in place is those experts, the subject matter experts in whatever it is, those segments of your strategy are. So if it's marketing strategy, you're going to need a marketing expert there who's going to, first of all, build that plan out with you, of course, in line with your vision, and then execute that. Hiring, project, we talked about project management. Whatever it is, you're going to need key leadership under you and some people underneath that who can help you, help you scale properly. If not, wasted time, wasted resources, it's going to be hard to come back from. It can really derail, your progress.
And I love the leadership talk when it comes to scaling, because it's so crucial, and it fits right into the next topic I want to discuss, which is that team. You have to be ready to build that team. If I have 10,000 people who needs apps tomorrow, I'm going to need more developers. I'm going to need somebody to answer these phone calls. I'm going to need somebody to respond to these emails. I'm going to need somebody to help me with this day-to-day operation. But if I don't have a plan already set in stone and that happens, then I'm pretty much screwed. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about planning for that success. We're talking about planning to have your business be able to scale, and getting that team together is something that's important as well. And I'm not just talking about the positions. I'm not saying just I need a developer. I'm talking about specific people. I have specific people in mind that when this happened, when certain points in the business happen, I'm reaching out to, and they're going to be ready for me, and they're going to be ready to come and join Fresh Tech. So it's all about being very strategic, intentional, and specific about these things when you're trying to make this scaling plan.
Yeah, and that's something that Darrell does. He excels at. Not just like you said, not just say, hey, I need this or I need that. Not plug and play. Actually having people in mind, because he's thinking about it always. He's always thinking, like, we have to bring him down a little bit. He's always thinking at a stratospherical level. He's always thinking globally. He's always thinking large. So his mind is always like, if I get here, I need this, this, and this. I need this person who's like this. So he's really envisioning it properly, and that's something that we should get in the habit of, so that we're at least, if we're not prepared, down to our like writing stuff down with scaling, at least in our mind, we're thinking about it, we're identifying people, we're having conversations with them, we're playing out scenarios, so that we can pick the team when it's time. Because that's something that he does have, because he mentioned the scenario, like what if this happened to Fresh Take, overnight or whatnot. We do have people that we would call. Yeah, we might not have the project management capacity right now, but I do know what steps to take, if we need to grow. Doug knows things that he can. We have people in our network that we can leverage to help us to respond to it. So that's something that's very important.
Yeah, one of the things that we find from our, this is actually a real live case study as we speak. We actually are engaged in conversations with someone who has a business concept that can scale very quickly, and so we recently were put on to help advise the project. The interesting thing is that before we got a chance to really put our hands on this concept, one of the potential investors told them, "We don't know enough about your team and about the processes that you have in place for you to be able to scale." So I think this puts us in a really cool position for our second topic of the day, to talk about processes and procedures.
Yeah, and that includes SOP processes, quality control, onboarding, and even production. Because we talk about this from a service standpoint, because we do apps, but what about those people who have products? What about those people who have inventory? What about those people who have to spend more money on products to scale at certain levels? So it's a lot of different things that you can put together in this scaling plan based on your business.
Yeah, and so this process is something that I'm extremely passionate about, with my background and whatnot. But you mentioned production, you mentioned software, service. Everything has key similarities in the process development. So it's like, what is it you're doing, and then how best to do it. There's your two bookends, and then there's the steps that you do in between, and then that can vary as needed. So what's going to happen when you're scaling is that you're doing something this way because it's efficient for, let's say you're a watchmaker, or like Darrell says, we're pushing out, let's say 100 apps a month or whatever. We're built for that. But what happens when it's 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, or if you're a watchmaker, you're pushing out 5 or 6 a week, and then it moves to 100, that is completely different. Now, the process is still going to be the same. It's like, what am I doing? I'm still making watches, and the end goal is I'm going to get the watch out to whoever it is, but how I'm doing it is going to be different. So that's what differentiates the process. So whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to expand it to meet the new destination. So once you have those two things, and then you fill in the gaps as you go.
So Nick covered the product really well. So I'll talk a little bit about the people, because you need to have you need to have the processes on two levels to make sure that when you're bringing in more people that they're happy and they know what they're doing. And so having those SOP processes, really similar to what Nicholas was talking about, helps people understand their job. But also when you're onboarding, there's a bunch of things that you should be looking for. So you should be able to identify who the ideal person is. Yes, you're looking for specific knowledge, skills, and abilities, or KSAs as they call them in the human resources world. But you're also looking for people that have the right cultural fit for your company. Because like, what would be the scariest killer for you to experience when you're scaling is not necessarily not having the right people, but it would actually be hiring the wrong people, losing them, and then having to take those costs of turnover, retraining, and retention to be able to make sure that you have the right place. And just a quick pro tip, if you're continuing to fire and rehire and fire and rehire, it's probably your culture. And so that means you need to go back and look at your processes.
Yeah, so process. So number one was strategy. Number two was processes and procedures. And now finally, I want to end with talking about the investment. One of the things that we want people to understand is that it costs money to scale. Period. Nick, you want to
Scared
elaborate
money
on
don't
that?
make money. Yeah, scared money does not make money, bro, or scared money don't make money. It's gonna cost money to make more money. No matter how you look at it, whatever it is, you're doing more of it, and it's gonna cost you more money, either directly or indirectly. Most times both. So it's either gonna cost you more time, cost you more resource, more people, which is in turn gonna cost you more money. So you have to keep that in mind, and sometimes that is most likely gonna be your limiting factor. So that you have to keep that in mind also. So you have to create a plan that's going to help you get the funds that you need to reach a destination, so that it doesn't dry up before you get to sustainability.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we try to really preach to a lot of our clients, because most people, when they get really excited about their idea, they think about this idea that's about to blow it out the water within 15 minutes. They're going to be able to make enough salary to be able to fulfill their dreams. They're going to buy a private island in 6 months. That's not necessarily the way that you're able to benefit off your business. Yes, there are some stories like that, but not all stories begin and end like that. For the most part, most times when you talk to somebody who is helping you is advising about your new business idea, they tell you you're going to lose money in the first year and you're going to possibly make a little something the next year. The reason why is because that revenue goes back into your expenses. It should go back into research and development, which you should have a plan for. It goes back into finally hiring, which you should have a plan and process for. So you got to put that money into your business if you want it to grow. If your scope is just to make a couple bucks while you sit around and do another job, that's a whole different thing. But if you really are trying to engage yourself and become an entrepreneur, you got to figure out how much money are you willing to put back into your business so you can grow your business and scale.
Yeah. And one more thing before we hop into the next segment of our podcast, I just want to say that, once you have that scaling plan, that, once you plan to scale, once you have that tangible, it helps because now you want to use it. Now you want to actually get to that point. You want to be able to hire these people. So it's just another fire, so think about that. And Doug, for this next part of this meeting, we're gonna bring in our special guest on this beautiful day. Doug, you want to go ahead and make the introduction while I bring him into the call?
Well, so we have two great guests from a wonderful business called Green Life Consulting here in wonderful Houston, Texas, with Jerome Chenevert as well as Tamar Bibbs. We've run into them on multiple occasions in a lot of the small business incubators, and we're going to have the great opportunity to be able to collaborate with them moving forward. And so we'll definitely talk a little bit about this, but definitely just happy to have some friends of the show on. They were so gracious to take some of the time out for us. I see Tamar. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you. Representing.
Doing good. It looks like.
Yeah. No,
all right.
I see you happy
merch money. Hey, Jerome, how's it going?
What's going on, man? Good. I was having problems with the audio.
Oh, you are good to go. So the first thing we'd love y'all to do is just give us an elevator pitch of Green Life Consulting. What are you guys about?
Well, first we want to thank you for having us, on your show. It's a pleasure to be here on this day. Well, Green Life Consulting LLC is a cannabis consulting agency. We specialize in cannabis financial services and cannabis business advising. And pretty much we're here to help the average person that want to get in the cannabis industry do it the right way. We build our business off of integrity and honesty, because that's very important with this industry, considering it's been, the negative stigma. So we want to make sure, we do our best with integrity and honesty.
It's so we definitely love y'all. We're happy to partner with y'all. So Tamar, this question is for you. So why is cannabis and hemp the next business frontier?
Well, it is the next green gold rush, as my business partner Jerome likes to tell everybody. When you look at this industry, it is slated to be $1.5 billion within the next 2 to 3 years. So at this point, we have an excellent opportunity to get in at the ground level and grow per se. So our goal with Greenlight Consulting is just to do that, is to help people's businesses grow, especially in the cannabis space.
So what tips do you generally give your clients about scaling, particularly in the cannabis space?
Well, the very first thing we like people to understand that this is a unique industry, and one of the very first things you have to do is establish your competitive edge.
Right.
You have to find that part of your business that is going to make you viable for the long term if you plan on being in the cannabis industry. So finding that competitive edge for viability, long-term viability.
And so that's one of the things that's definitely one of the things that when we talk, it's just so amazing to us, because for what we normally see at Deck Launch and Fresh Tech, we're talking about generally businesses that have a different type of risk. You know, it's a lot of times it's financial, and maybe, you know, you're worried about competing with people that have more that are like higher on the food chain than you. But when we talk about some of the businesses that you've introduced us to or we've collaborated with, you guys seem to find there's stuff about the legal piece, there's stuff about the insurance piece, and there's stuff about the social piece. So of those three, what's the most important thing to plan for when you're trying to scale?
I think risk is going to be probably the biggest thing that you have to plan for, especially in this space. One of the things that we've been noticing is that when you fail to plan for risk, and you don't have anything to fall back on, similar to what you all were talking about, your SOPs, to make sure that your workers understand the processes. A lot of times, like you said, when we start businesses, we start them, but we just start them. There's nothing that's set in place. There's no SOPs. There's no emergency plans, no recall plans. There's no insurance. There's no business plan. A lot of times, these businesses don't even have business plans. So our approach is to make sure that we first help you with your business plan, help you with business advising, insurance, everything that you're going to need in the cannabis space to help your business be sustainable.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question. Something that I'm really curious about. So as you know, and here, I don't think here in Texas, I think most CBD stores are forced to be closed right now. I don't think they were designated as key businesses and whatnot. But in other states, though, they are designated as essential. So, and we didn't talk about quality, and you just mentioned one of those things in SOPs and how that's important for scaling. What does it look like for these businesses that are experiencing that exponential growth, kind of like other industries like Netflix are experiencing right now, where everybody is now, you know, what does that look like? How does someone cope with that?
Well, one of the things that you have to understand is this pandemic caught everyone off guard. So when it comes to cannabis, especially here in Texas, we'll speak specifically to Texas. One thing that, you know, when we talk to people about building a cannabis business, you have to understand that this is a plant. So whether the season is summer, winter, fall, or whatever, you still have to know that this is a plant. So as we move forward into the maturity of this industry, we have to understand that the cannabis space is going to experience some of the same business obstacles that other businesses are going to experience. So when setting up your business, it's important to understand, you know, why you're in business. And a lot of times people just jump into this space for the money. But when you're finding that competitive advantage, one of the things that we help you do is ask that question: what problem are you trying to solve? So if you're developing your business to where it's solving a problem, that's when you start understanding how do you scale your business when the pandemic comes, and that's when we start leveraging technology. So to really get people to understand how to stay floating in a situation like this, is we start understanding where technology plays in the overall business structure when you're designing your business. Because we have a company that is out in Louisiana, and they are shifting to e-commerce simply because they're very successful brick and mortar. And when this pandemic hit, you know, we showed them that it's inevitable for them to go to e-commerce. So it's finding that niche and knowing how to leverage it using the technology that's available. And that's pretty much it for any business, but especially in the cannabis space. Because whether you're listed as essential or not, cannabis is essential.
Right.
Sure.
And so one of the great things that Tamar actually hit on a post about us is that we are partnering with Green Life Consulting. We're proud to be assisting when it comes to websites, when it comes to apps and additional technology. But the really cool thing that we're really excited for is that when we are no longer socially distancing, or at least allowed to be around each other a little bit, there is an amazing seminar and pitch competition opportunity that we're building for you as we speak. So I would love, Tamar, please share. I don't want to ruin the surprise on 420.
Well, I think probably Jerome, I'll let Jerome do the honors on this one, Mr. President.
All right, well, I mean, trust me, Tamar can do a better job, but I'll take a step there. So last year we had an event called the Perfect Flower. It was a networking mixer, and it was a seminar networking mixer. It was our way to bring the industry to the people. Well, what we wanted to do was keep that tradition going, but we wanted to do it a little different this year. We still wanted to educate. We wanted to add something special to it. And that's when, Tamar, met Doug and Darrell, and, we thought that it would be a good idea to do the educating part and add a pitch competition. So that way we can, give people that are interested in coming to the legal cannabis space a platform to get their business idea out there. So what we're waiting on, as Doug said, is the green light for life to continue in the reality realm, not this virtual realm. So we're going to have Perfect Flower 2, which would be a workshop, a cannabis business workshop and seminar, along with the pitch competition.
Yeah, we're super excited about this event, especially the when we get when we get off of punishment and we can actually go to stuff like this. But this pitch competition is going to be awesome. We're going to be in the building. We're going to be promoting the heck out of it soon. So y'all, just keep an eye out for it.
Stay tuned, yes. And prize money. We're sponsors. If you would like to be an investor, or if you want to be a sponsor for this event, we're all hands are on deck for this, because this is going to be a phenomenal event, especially in the cannabis space, especially here in Houston, Texas, because I have not yet seen a cannabis pitch competition like this one. So we're definitely going to bring out as many heavy hitters as possible. We have some excellent judges in the works. We have some excellent presenters in the works. So we're just, like you said, waiting on this. I don't even like giving it a name, but we're waiting on it to go away so that we can get back to business.
So we can scale the perfect flower pitch competition and make it a global event. All right, so I really appreciate you two for coming on and joining us as our guest on the Fresh Tech Tips podcast. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. So just a little small recap. Today our episode was called "How High Is Your Business?" and we're talking about the keys to elevating and scaling your business. So we went over, having a scaling strategy, having your processes and procedures lined up, understanding that there will be an investment into this, and so plan. Make sure you know what happens if you wake up with 100,000 orders. We wish you all the best. Think big. Thank y'all for joining Fresh Tech Tips. We'll be back here next Monday at 12 o'clock, and we will see y'all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.